Hi, good day, everyone. Welcome back to class. It's learning time, so I'm welcoming every one of us to today's class. And if you are coming across this channel for the very first time, this is where we learn biochemistry in simple and plain English. So you're welcome. Please subscribe, share this video for to reach others so that they also can learn with us. And to my returning subscribers, you guys know that I love you so much. Thank you for your support. I'm really grateful. Today, we are going into the biochemistry of plants. What happens in plants? So, we want to discuss photosynthesis today. Firstly, let's break it down as it's our culture here. Photo, it is also known as light. So, that means this is light. Then, synthesis, we are getting new products. In other words, it is safe to say that we want to get a new product with the help or with the usage of light. Now, let's as a student, you after a very long day from lecture and you go back to your hostel, you were very, very hungry. So you want to cook. And for this part of the world, I know that part of the most fastest food apart from the almighty gari is noodles. So let's now say you want to prepare noodles and pair it with egg. So you are a student, you are hungry. Let's be taking them one by one. So you student, you are very hungry, very, very hungry. So you need food. Now, and the food that you want to eat is noodles and egg. And for you to prepare that noodles and egg, firstly, you must have noodles and you must have egg. So we can write, so let's write, we have noodles, we have eggs. Now, for you to be able to achieve this your noodles and egg that you want to eat, at least you must have a pot where you will cook the noodles and egg. So let's put pots. Also, if you now want, you have pot already, you have your noodles, you have your egg. The next thing you also need is that your cylinder, there must be gas in your cylinder for you to cook. And if it is stove that you are using, there must be kerosene in your stove for you to cook. So it is either you have your gas here or your kerosene, even hot plates. But you know, if it is hot plate, you have to have a power source of power. So we can say light hot plate. So when you have this, you will now put your noodles and your egg, you put them in a pot, then you place them on your gas cylinder or your hot plate or your stove. In the process of cooking, there will be steam coming out from your pot. When you cover your pot and you're already cooking, there will be steam that is coming out. Let's also write this steam. So now, this example of a student that is hungry, that wants to eat noodles and egg, will have to cook it in a pot in the presence of these gas or hot plate or kerosene, and during the process there will be steam coming out from the pot where you are cooking it. Then the final thing you now get is your meal, which is your noodles and egg. This example now, let's bring it to photosynthesis. Follow me. Now the student that is hungry, that wants to eat now, for under photosynthesis, plants, it is plant that is hungry now, not the students. Now, what are the ingredients that the plant needs to prepare its food? Because for you, you have various options of food that you can decide to eat. Okay, for plants, we can say they are a street diet. So, for plants now, instead of the noodles and egg that you as a student want to eat, the plants will be needing CO2 and water. That is the two things that they will be needing. Now, for your pot, when you want to put when you want to cook, you put everything in your pot. But for plants, they instead of this pot, they will be needing chlorophyll. After which they now start cooking it either on gas or on hot plate with kerosene stove. But their own now, they cook it with the help of light. That when you were cooking your own food the other time, things were coming out from the food you were cooking. So their own now, the steam that is coming out from their own form of food now that they are cooking is oxygen. So we have oxygen here. So after all said and done, now they already have their ingredients. They have the CO2 and the H2O. They put it in the presence of these chlorophyll, and with the help of light, which is giving off the steam, which is the oxygen, they will now have their meal that you also have here. But their own meal now that they will have with this is now glucose. That is just what photosynthesis is all about. So now, what is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the synthesis of organic compound from carbon dioxide and water in the presence of light energy. So now we said photo, light, synthesis, product, new product. So according to our definition now, the synthesis, the process in which you want to produce a new product, and these new products are organic compound, which in our case is glucose. So we want to synthesize this glucose. And how will you go about it? This glucose will be synthesized from the combination, the coming together of carbon dioxide and water, which will be observed in the presence of chlorophyll and with the help of light energy, which will now give us the glucose that is of interest. And during this process, oxygen is released to the environment. That is simply what photosynthesis is all about. So photosynthesis, it occurs in the presence of light. That is the light energy that we have here. Then also in the presence of chlorophyll, which is here. This is the green pigment that will help in this process. Then also photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplast of the cell. That is where this process takes place. Then in this process, we get our organic compound, which is glucose or carbohydrate, or some can even say to get chemical energy. We are still referring to these particular glucose, because when this particular glucose is broken down, that is where the chemical energy that is needed from the normal process of the metabolism process in the plant, that is where it will be released. The general equation for photosynthesis now is that we know we are starting with your carbon dioxide, so, and your water. The general equation for photosynthesis now is 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of light energy and also chlorophyll to give us 1 molecule of glucose, which is 6H12O6 plus 6 molecule of oxygen and 6 molecules of water. Importance of photosynthesis. Why is this process actually important? One is that it gives energy to the plants. And this energy that is given to the plant, that is what will help them to undergo all their metabolism seamlessly. So, which will now include their growth process, cell repair, daily function. Also, it helps them in building their structure very well, in which glucose will now be converted to cellulose, which are now part of the material that are needed during the formation of the cell, where we are talking about the primary cell wall, the secondary cell wall, the middle lamella, the tertiary cell wall, and the rest like that. So, and any other benefits gotten from this photosynthesis, that is why this particular process is important in plants. Let's check photosynthesis as a redox process now. Redox reaction always involve the oxidation reaction and the reduction reaction. Now, what happened in the oxidation process? In this process, water molecule is broken down. Now we have H2O, which will now give us, we now have O2, that is the oxygen that is there. Then we also have hydrogen. So this hydrogen will now be broken down to a proton and an electron. You know, when you break your hydrogen atom, you have a proton and an electron. So this is what you get in your oxidation process. Now, in the reduction process, remember I said that it is what this one is giving us that this one will take up. So in this reduction process, CO2 now will now take up the electron that was actually released from this oxidation process. So when you take up the electron, So through this process, it will now be able to give us our glucose, which is H6H12O6. That is just the summary of how these processes occur in photosynthesis that involve the CO2 and the H2O. We'll be moving deep into that as time goes on so that we will understand that very well. Now, in photosynthesis, we have two phases in photosynthesis. We have the light dependent stage and the light independent stage. So, or we can say that we have the light phase and the dark phase. We have a phase that require light and we have a phase that does not require light. This light phase, it requires light to function. So the dark phase, it does not require light to function. But the relationship between them is that the product getting from light phase is what will be taken up by the dark phase to be able to accomplish their own goal. Now, let's take them one after the other. Light phase. The light reaction occurs in the thylakoid of the chloroplast. And this thylakoid membrane consists of two photosystems. We have photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. So during the day like this, when there is light, photosystem 2 we uptake this light, and this light we use to break down water. Remember previously when I said the breakdown of water, which is photolysis, using light to break down water, where we have the oxygen, we have the electron, and we have your proton. So that is what happened in the light reaction. Now, in this light reaction, products here are 1 ATP, 2 NADPH. Now, the product here is now what the dark phase will now make use of. So we will get there. Most importantly now, the energy that we get from this light phase are gotten from the electron transport chain and the oxidative phosphorylation. That is where this energy is being generated. So it is safe to say that without the electron transport chain and the oxidative phosphorylation, this light phase cannot be completed, because that is where our energy will be gotten from, which is actually needed by the dark phase for their process to take place. Now, let us now focus mainly on the electron transport chain and the oxidative phosphorylation that happen in the light phase of photosynthesis.